Hey guys, we're the Sports Addicts podcast, and we're back again today with our Western Conference second round playoff predictions. So to start off, we have the number one seed versus the number four seed, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Houston Rockets. The Rockets coming off a scrappy seven-game series with the Thunder, while the Lakers had a gentleman's sweep of the Portland Trailblazers. So, Sai, what are your predictions for the series?
Yeah, so obviously this series has a lot of star-studded players, like including three MVPs and obviously James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron James. I think that the Rockets, as you can see, they really struggled to just get past OKC, which really, in my opinion, has like a subpar talent collection of talent, and I didn't really believe in their coaching, and I actually thought Houston would probably win that series in a easier fashion. Like I didn't expect it at all to go to 7 games, and they had trouble at closing games as well. So I don't think Houston really stands much of a chance, especially against the Lakers, who were a little shaky to start off the series against Portland, but they definitely picked it up, and LeBron and AD just started dominating. And I think they're just gonna keep dominating, especially with the lack of big men for the Rockets. They don't have anyone who really can guard Anthony Davis. I think PJ Tucker will be on the floor all the time and complaining to the refs about 80 offensive fouls the whole game. And I think that is just going to be probably a 5 game series. I think the Rockets will probably win one out of the 5 games with their like 3-point shooting. Once in a while, their threes definitely go in, and if they pour it on, I don't think the Lakers can come back in one of the games. But I think the rest of the 4 games is probably going to be light work for the Lakers.
I mean, obviously, yeah, the Lakers matchup, they have a lot of big men that Houston don't have. Big men, but you have to remember, Houston took this series 2-1, and one of their first games that Houston played, like while testing that small ball lineup with Westbrook, Covington, Tucker, Harden, Eric Gordon, those guys, they beat the Lakers by a significant fashion. I mean, Anthony Davis, he was a monster, but threes were greater than twos, and then Russell Westbrook in transition was just blowing the top off that Lakers defense. And you have to think about it. Like, yeah, true. This is Rockets are such a hot and cold team. Sometimes the threes are falling. Sometimes the threes are not. But the way that the Lakers play is like usually they're not a good 3-point shooting team. Like they actually perform pretty well against like the Blazers in games 2 to 5. But they don't have that many spot up shooters. Danny Green is a shooter, but like he's not like what he used to be before. Uh, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you can live with them making threes. Like they really don't have that many 3-point threats. So their main game is like LeBron driving into the paint and finishing or dumping it off to AD, who's going to work in the post. And you have to think that like in potentially 2 or maybe 3 of the games, the Rockets are just going to get hot from 3, and that's going to open up lanes for Russell Westbrook to play to drive in and finish. And Westbrook played terrible in the OKC series. He's still getting his he's still trying to work back from that injury that he had, and he obviously had a lot of rust. But when you think about it, this Rockets team is like perfectly built to beat the Lakers. I'm not saying they will beat the Lakers, but 5 games seems like a bit too less for me. This Rockets team has the talent, has like the advantage, has the analytical advantage to take this Lakers series to potentially 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely fair argument because the Rockets, right? They play a style where they're gonna try to outscore you, and once in a while their threes are definitely gonna fall. Like Robert Covington and Jeff Green are just gonna start like pouring in threes, and that's when like the Lakers are pretty much vulnerable. They won't be able to keep up. But if you look at the Lakers, they were able to shut down Dame Lillard before he got hurt, and obviously they let CJ run wild in Game 7, but they realized that after Dame Lillard left, obviously they couldn't really do anything with just CJ, and I think that's what they're gonna do here against Houston. What they're going to do is they're going to shadow off James Harden. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to shadow him off, right? But you can see OKC did it to a certain extent with Lou Dort guarding him. I think that after James Harden gets shadowed, I think this can be the Russell Westbrook show, and we've seen more often than not that Russell Westbrook hasn't proven himself in the playoffs, and especially with OKC. And I think that, and Russell Westbrook's obviously still rusty, as you said. So I still think that Houston doesn't really have a shot.
See, the problem is with the Lakers, they don't really have a Lou Dort. Yeah, sure, you can put LeBron on him, but like you don't want LeBron exerting his energy trying to guard Harden because Harden is arguably the greatest one-on-one player in the history of the NBA. The thing about Lou Dort is one, he wasn't that tall. He's actually a 6'3" player, and that core strength that he has to not get pushed off when Harden pump fakes and drives, like that's a very rare quality that not many players have. LeBron has it, but if he's gonna try and like guard Harden, he's gonna be tired. And the Lakers really need LeBron on the offensive end because their offensive game is a 2-man show with Anthony Davis and LeBron. So I expect the Lakers to not put LeBron. They're probably going to throw maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or Kyle Kuzma, who had a pretty good series against the Blazers, but no one's going to really be able to stop Harden this series. You have to think that Lou Dort played probably the best defense that anyone has played against Harden in like the past few years, and the defensive drop off from like Lou Dort to Kyle Kuzma or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, it's a huge drop off. They're not going to be able to contain Harden, and I feel like that's going to open up lanes for like all the Rockets guys.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but the problem is who's going to stop Anthony Davis? I still can't find a person there. I think PJ Tucker's just going to be there.
You have to remember PJ Tucker. Like, yeah, the thing is, it's not about stopping Anthony Davis. It's about tiring him out. It's about making him work for those shots.
Yeah, but PJ Tucker ain't making him work. He stands in the corner all game.
No. On defense, no. When the Lakers played the Rockets, I think it was like January or February. I'm not sure. But PJ Tucker actually played pretty good defense on Anthony Davis. He pushed him back, played very, very physical with him. Yeah, Anthony Davis got his way, but you could tell like Anthony Davis was feeling like the effects of like the pressure that PJ Tucker was putting on him. And
yeah, definitely possible. Anthony Davis is another like player like Russell Westbrook who doesn't really show up in the playoffs. So obviously he did show up in the first round. He was pretty incredible, but I still think that LeBron, it's just hard to beat LeBron in playoffs, and I don't think Houston has a shot.
True, that is the reason the Lakers are the favorites in the series, and it'll be fun to see how this series plays out. So, moving on to the next series, we have the number 2 versus the number 3 seed, the Denver Nuggets, coming off a scrappy Game 7 win that came down to the final seconds, and you have the Clippers who are coming off of a surprisingly difficult 6-game series. People expected it to be a 5-game or potentially 4-game series, but the Mavs put up a fight. So, who do you have winning this series?
Yeah, so I think that the Nuggets, obviously after the 7-game series, are really tired. I think that they just don't really have the firepower anymore. I think that Jamal Murray had like a career 4 games at stretch right there, and I don't really think he's all that. Like I don't buy into the hype of him. He hasn't been. He was terrible in the playoffs last year, and this year he's been terrible in the first few games before it came down to the last like 4 games where he pretty much carried them. So I think that the Clippers will shut down Jamal Murray, and I don't think Jokic can just do it himself, especially with the style of play. It's not like where it's like Steph Curry where you can just like fire in threes, or like Joel Embiid where he can get a basket every time. Jokic tries to get others involved, and I don't think the others for the Nuggets are as good as like other teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument there. I mean, like the Clippers' strengths, the Nuggets' weaknesses, like the Clippers team is perfectly built to beat this Nuggets team. We've seen that in the regular season. They had a couple of blowouts. No, there's no one that can guard Kawhi, Paul George, or any of the other wings, even Markieff Morris for that matter.
I think that like Torrey Craig is a good defender, but he can only guard one at one point. So I don't know. I don't think they can guard the other.
Yeah, and see the Clippers right now, they're fully healthy, like for like the first time in the season, and Pat Beverley working his way back. And when this Clippers team hits full stride, there's a reason that these guys were championship favorites. Like sure, Nikola Jokic might go off for 51 games. Jamal Murray might get get hot and then go off for 50, but maybe a 5-game series, potentially a 6-game series. But this Clippers team is just way too much for the Nuggets to handle.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a 6-game series, maybe 5. I don't think it's going more than 6 because the problem with the Denver Nuggets is that if Jokic doesn't play aggressive, they really don't have a shot. And they're as you can see in the bubble, they can't play defense. Like it's just a fact that everyone knows. And I don't know how the heck they're gonna stop Kawhi and Paul George if he just starts like playing average Paul George game. I don't think the Denver Nuggets really have a shot.
Yeah, this is probably like the easiest second round matchup to predict. Like the Clippers are heavy favorites, and we'll have to see if the Nuggets have some sort of push in them, can get some role players to step up and play good. But this will do it for our Western Conference second round playoff predictions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.